In this week's episode of Whitetail Cribs, we're stopping in Michigan to visit with Perry Silvio Russo. Silvio is one of the founding members of the Michigan QDMA branch. He's been part of the studies done at the King Ranch in Texas. Join along as he shares some of his favorite hunting stories from over the years and see some incredible Michigan whitetail bucks. If you enjoyed the episode, leave us a like and tell us where we should go next in the comments. Now let's go.
Hi, this is Perry Silvio Russo. My friends call me Silvio. Welcome to my house. And, it's great to have you guys come from Ohio to kind of share some knowledge. This is how it kind of all started. These little bucks up here, up on the wall here, the buck there in the center probably back in 1983 would have been probably one of the biggest bucks of our lives back then. There wasn't that many big bucks to really hunt. We had, Michigan had like about 2 million deer back then, but we had no age structure really at all. And so the deer, population has changed, but that buck was shot by my brother. And then in our early days, I think there's a couple of little forkies, a couple of little spikes, stuff like that, and that's what would make a guy proud back then. And then love to have you guys come in the house and show you around a little bit. And this is our we just built this home a year ago, and so we haven't done I shouldn't say we haven't done a lot. We've done quite a bit, but all my mounts are not like out and throughout the house. I got them like in one area. They're all right here. This is my little trophy room. We got a lot of family pictures in there, and every buck has a story. Some have a longer history than others. The one there in the center came from our farm, and that deer had got just a huge home range. He had about more than 3 mile home range going north of us, and I don't know what his home range could have been going south of us because it's a big state game area. It goes about 6 miles. And but he was around for a few years. He was a good 6-year-old, well over 350-pound deer. And when I say that, he was well over 350 pounds. In fact, my taxidermist said they don't even make a form big enough for his head. He said that's how big his head is. So, but he was a colossal deer, and shot him first couple of days of the season. That buck there on the bottom, right there in the corner, and the one above them, both those bucks were 4 years old. They both, from 3 years to 4 years old, never changed an antler size. And those were on my farm. And I remember that, one of my neighbors got really upset when I shot that one there and said, I shot his deer. And I said, he's free ranging. I shot him on my property. But that's probably some of the stuff that happens between hunters that really shouldn't have happened. You should be happy. And then all the other deer there on the bottom, with the exception of the one there in the center, that was from Iowa last year. And then the two on the end were shot, one was shot early season, that one was shot late season. And UP buck, Bay County buck, Sanilac County, Oakland County. Yeah, just a lot of good history there between the different bucks. And the one on top was one that I got to see actually golfing one afternoon, and kicked him up, hit a golf ball into the woods right off the tee, and I went into the woods, and the buck came out, ran out in front of us, ran out to the power line, stood there looking at us. And then I went all summer, and I kind of kept track of him all summer long, and I had them shooting him that year. And he's my biggest deer to date. He scores I think he's gross scored like 166, 168 right in there. And but just a colossal, just another big bodied deer. And then that was an Oakland County buck that a friend of mine, his son, kept on saying, he's behind the school bus, and he'd say, I keep on seeing this buck underneath this apple tree at the corner of such and such road. And so I said, well, it's right by my house. I'm going to go over there and check it out. I went over there and checked it out. Back then, we didn't have the trail cameras and all that kind of stuff. We used to have these little game trail lines and trip lines, and we used to set those. That's how I hunted that buck and shot him on the first time in a late afternoon hunt. The buck there, He was 11, 12 years old, and that was shot when I was on a trip with QDMA, and we had spent several days at the Callahan Ranch, which is in the northern part of the state, and then we went down to the King Ranch. We spent about 4 or 5 days there, and we're doing some live trapping because a lot of these deer had radio collars, or they had radio transmitters surgically implanted, and we'd live trap them and then get all the data and store all that data. It was a 7-year study through the university, and so that was probably one of the funnest things I've ever done when it comes to related to whitetail hunting per se. Yeah, for sure. That was probably one of the greatest memories I'll ever have. In fact, I got a book I can show you guys some of the pictures in that. That buck there to the left, I mean, he was a buck that we hunted all season long and didn't really get a chance to even draw a bow on him until December. So, you know, UP deer, and I would say, you know, ag deer can be typical, but not like ag. Ag is a lot easier to hunt than a UP deer. UP, you can ask Jeff Sturgis. I mean, they're just harder to come by, harder to get pinpointed, because you may see them like in this swamp, and he may not be back around if he's going 8 miles. And up in the UP, when they go from one road to the next road, that's not far for them to go. The typical route is like 6 to 8 miles to the next road. But he was another tough one, you know, archery deal that we pegged. That deer there is a Montana buck, believe it or not, Milk River, before the Milk River became popular. And I had gone there with a couple of guys, and boy, we hunted there 1 year, and we just fell in love with the place, and it was a rifle hunt. And that buck actually was with two other bucks, smaller bucks, but I would say he was only, you know, we were probably the 4th day on our hunt, and where we were at, it was open ground. You know, it wasn't a lot of cover there, a lot of big open ground, and a lot of that sprawling, you know, poplar timber that they have, you know. And yeah, he's the only you know, rifle hunt there. That's another Milk River account, that one right there. And that was another buck that you know, I was hunting a drop tine buck. Lo and behold, I shot that buck, and the drop tine buck came after he came out. You know, and you know, typical story. Both about the same size, but you know, and again, that deer was, you know, just another big deer. You know, we hunted the Milk River for about 2 years, and then Realtree came in, and it just changed the dynamic of, I hate to say this, it changed the dynamic of everything. You know, we wanted to go back that following year. Well, we can't take you in because Realtree is coming in, so we can't take you to that farm, you know, that we typically hunted on. And that kind of put a sour taste in my mouth, you know. And so we didn't hunt, you know, Iowa after that. We had bought the farm, and we just kind of stayed home for a lot of years and taught the boys how to hunt, and got them into archery, and took them to all the deer spectaculars here in Michigan, and, you know, did all that kind of stuff. This rack right here was from the King Ranch, and this was actually, I think, found by one of the founding members, if I remember. This is a Saskatchewan, but this one here is a Manitoba. These are all Michigan, right here, from here to here. This buck right here, I found his shed on my farm, and we had a lot of pictures of this buck. We never could. He's, you know, I always wanted to shoot this deer so bad. Found his shed crossing the railroad track, and I was up on a weekend, and like for Saturday and a Sunday, and I actually took a Monday off and backtracked this buck a mile. And I was determined, because he lost the one side, and I found this side. Found his right, I think, one or the other, but I think I found his right, and then I found his left over a mile away. found it in his bed back in that swamp at 6 miles long. So that's probably, you know, one of my, I just love this buck right here. So this one here was found, this little buck right here, he's a lot like these deer that come out of the thumb. You know, you can tell by how heavy he is, he's never going to be any better than that. He's probably 4 or 5 years old, but he just doesn't have the genetic pool. You know, that was a small one. And I found that one within about probably a quarter of a mile of our farm. This one here, I found in one of our food plots. And a lot of these I have dates. I used to have tape on them. But this one there I found in one of my main food plots on our farm. And the rest of these are all food plot fine, like late in the season. Another one late season. May, found this one in May, front field. And this is after we had started the, you know, the QDMA, you know, movement, you know. This buck right here I really wanted. Found this in March 25th, 2007, and at the pond. And he was so cool because when he had this side, it was real tall. Came up, and I really wanted to shoot that deer. Never got a chance to shoot him. I want to appreciate you guys coming. It's really been a good time having you come. Really enjoyed meeting you guys and stuff. But it's time you guys got to get out of here.